If you guys didn't see this video, it's not surprising. At the end of Battle for Azeroth, I wanted to start aggregating all my stats because I felt like it was really important that people see just how many keys I do, how many keys are successful, and how many keys are not as well. Then throughout that season, I started to realize that there's a little bit more to the data. My original interest was cataloging every single disband of a season to help myself learn as well, but of course, to give you guys some funny content and, potentially maybe draw some conclusions. In that video's comment section, people did start making some conclusions about what type of realms and what type of players were the first ones to leave and the quick ones to overreact. But at the end of the day, it was kind of just a pet project and didn't really take off. I spent a lot of time doing this. Obviously, I uploaded and recorded every single run from throughout the season. We double dipped on that and even triple dipped on that throughout the season, so it's not really that big of a deal. But then this video alone took a long time. I sat here and recorded the entire thing, and it's a 41-minute video. So you can only imagine how much I cut out. I think it was something like 4 hours of me sitting here and watching these VODs. But then something absolutely magical happened. And I am fully going to give credit where credit is due here. Probably about a month ago, Kavdova, a longtime supporter of this channel, just started leafing through old videos from what I could tell. And he ran across this video. Now, it was the last actual community post I posted too, so it's still easy to find. And he started commenting on it. Here, you can see his comment here 1 month ago. This video is over a year old. And he comments this and a few more comments get made. And honestly, I think that this is the start of what has happened in the last week or so. You see, YouTube kind of likes this thing when something that was popular or somewhat popular at one point gets a bunch of new popularity. YouTube believes that something's happened that made that video relevant again and starts re-recommending it to people. So if you haven't heard, this video has been recommended to quite a few people. This video has gotten over 1,000 views in the last month, but most importantly, it was recommended to somebody very special. Let's just take a look at that.
Okay, he's probably good. I wonder if we
Oh
can
shit, yo. This Metro Nice guy, I hope he invites him. I'm not going to tell him to, but...
Why? What's wrong? What's his bit?
Dude, this is story time tonight. I was on YouTube yesterday laying in bed as I woke up, and I get a video recommended to me. It was called Every Deplete in Season 1 and Why, or like something like that, right? And I open up this video, and it's this guy. He's this chiseled, hardened pug warrior blood decay. He's like, so I did an experiment for all of Season 1, and I only pugged every key, and I wrote down the reason why I depleted the key and recorded all of it. And I'm just like, okay, this is the greatest content goldmine of all time.
Dude, that's insane.
Yes. So I'm literally on stream watching, and it's literally just like moron idiot jumps off the ledge 3 times, then leaves key. And I'm just like watching clip after clip of like the greatest moments ever. And he's just like, oh, you found my video. Like, I put so much work into this, but it like never took off. And I thought it would be like really interesting.
Content.
And
that's
I'm just
really
like, dude,
content.
this is amazing. Like, I love this. Like, dude, let's do some keys.
I kind of want to watch that video. That sounds
yes.
good.
Well, there you go. So that means we do this again. Now, this is Season 2's content, and I'm going to tell you right now why I didn't make one of these videos. I'm really not happy that it's happening at this point. Like, I'm talking about me in Season 2 here. I was very, I guess, mentally unhappy with the way the game was playing out. A lot of things in real life also contributing to that. And I made the switch to Alliance with about 2/3 of the season behind us. At that point, I vowed to try to put all the negativity from the game behind me. It had been following me around heavily, and I was looking at the Alliance switch as kind of like a new hope for my game future there, you know? But after seeing the positive reception from some of the best players in the video game, I think it's time to put all that in the grave with what happened on the Horde and move on with a new chapter of our life. So we are going to review all the Horde disbands. That's all I have cataloged from Season 2. Now, the funny part is there's not really any Alliance disbands. There's probably like 3, and I'm pretty sure I already have clips on them in the playlist. But yeah, this is every Horde disband from Season 2, and I want to announce I am going to start doing this again. We're going to give it a try with Season 4 since it'll be nice and short. And if these things continue to be interesting and popular, or at least like worth the time, then we will continue doing it. The big reason I stopped doing the spreadsheet was because, well, really 3 reasons. 1, it didn't seem like anybody was using it. Like, I was clicking on some of the VODs and they had 0 views. 2, because it was really getting to be hard to manage. Like, every time a key would end, I would have to tab out and type it all in. And it was just kind of, so a disband would happen and I'd be like, oh great, now I have to type out that I just failed this key, So I think we can put those 2 to bed, and hopefully we can have better progression on that front. But then the third one was that they were capping my internet. Now, I still don't know how that works. I've yet to see any interaction with it, but it's like a hard or a soft cap or something like that, where if you use too much internet, they charge you more. So we're going to give it a try in season 4. If I have to eat 1 or 2 months of higher fees or something like that, we can do that. We'll see if that happens. If that doesn't come into play in season 4, then season 1 of Dragonflight, we will be back. But without further ado, let's get to the content you guys all came for. This is funny. I actually published this and it as the first disband of the season. I mean, it's honestly become like a part of the channel at this point. It's kind of sad to say. All right, it's a familiar sight. We are going to wipe to Globgrog with very little health left, and then things are going to devolve from there, but they're actually going to get even worse. It's kind of a weird way to start the season in terms of disbanding. Here's what I'm trying to put behind us. The guy says, you want to continue? He's already hearthed, by the way. He left the dungeon. I said, Paladin is a coward. The guy actually has to like run back. He hearthed. He's flying all the way back to the dungeon now. So this guy finally makes it back to the dungeon, and then he just like can't seem to get here for whatever reason. He aggroes trash twice. Then he says he can't release. He dies again, and then he comes back, and then he pulls even more trash and dies again. Meanwhile, this Azrael player is like, we still have time. I don't know if he's joking or what. But then the absolute peak of wit shows up. I said, can one of you re-roll Warlock? Maybe we can level 1 to 60 and summon him. I remember this one, and this one's a great example of why it's very frustrating to do keys right now, because this is the first week of the season that actually gives good gear, and we're actually talking about this. This guy says, we're way behind on time. We're not gonna succeed. And the Warlock says, we can still complete it. Then the guy, like, he remembers that they all of a sudden drop gear he needs. What's a level 15 key drop? This guy says 239. And as soon as that starts getting brought up, you actually see this guy, this Quell the Lost Death Knight, he just runs backwards. He runs the other direction. Actually, it looks like he runs forward. I don't know. I don't know if he's lagging or something goes wrong, but he just runs ahead, suicides. He dies to that, obviously, and then leaves the party. And that is just an absolute tragic disband when everybody still needs every single item that could drop from these dungeons. This is an interesting thing. I don't know what I'm doing here. This is really, really, really dumb on my part. I'm actually trying to click the jar while I'm tanking. I have no idea why. I can't seem to indicate any reason why I would do this. I guess I thought I was the only Night Fae in the group maybe at the time, and that ultimately wipes us, but the healer's not even here. I mean, I don't actually even see them. Yeah, they're literally just back there, AFK as well, so. See, the shaman actually recognizes how that happened too. He noticed that I used the jar and that I basically killed myself there. It's ultimately this Azrael priest who leaves, but I'm also going to throw some additional blame to this guy here. You see, his name is Fenway, and that's the name of a baseball stadium that's just a really, really, really bad stadium. Oh, here we go. We've come to a great one. This is an actual published VOD, 1.8k views. Everything wrong with pugging Mythic Plus in 1 key, and I think I remember it. So I'm still gathering these mobs, and this Arms Warrior comes in and just absolutely electrifies the pack. You see the DPS numbers down here. Just absolutely lighting these things up and gets thread immediately. Then, of course, we got to talk about that because, you know, God forbid he changes how he's playing. It's got to be my fault, right? Then the Azrael Shaman says, poor warrior. But then they keep talking about, then the Ragnaros Shaman says, aggro? Then the warrior says, yes, aggro. And we're supposed to be skipping this pack so we could CC it, but then the guy CCs the wrong mob, presumably because he like butt pulls it coming out of stealth. And then the chain lightning breaks it. So this is why I published this, because we have a guy who can't figure out how to play threat. Then we have a guy who can't figure out how to do it in Viz skip. Then we have an Azrael and a Ragnaros player arguing. And then we have a guy knock back trash into other mobs. It's really the perfect example of what's going on with keys right now. But it's not actually over. The healer says shaman stupid to the Azrael warrior. So we have the Ragnaros shaman arguing with the Azrael shaman, and he says, shut the fuck up, Ragnaros scrup. Like, what is even going on in this game? This is probably the first of a many thing here. This is actually really interesting. I didn't even realize this. The mistake that happens here is one that has happened multiple times this season, but this is actually a really unique case of it. Because as you see, we have Quacking going out at the same time we have the fear from Varuth. Now, if you don't remember Varuth, he basically feared everybody who wasn't stacked on another player. And we have a lot of deaths and disbands over that mechanic alone. But this one, you know, it's kind of a little bit unfair. But the thing is, we have 2 shaman. You would think that we would have Tremor down. We do not. This guy gets feared over there. That low pi Azrael guy gets feared over there, aggroes these mobs. These mobs are particularly dangerous to aggro because they're going to try to aggro even more mobs, wreaking havoc. Used to love the fella, but man, looking back, I forgot how many times we had problems with him. But then he actually, I forgot about this. He gets killed by the wall on the way back, and he says, I don't have time. This might very well be the first time that this boss disbands this as well, but man, does it become a problem in this season 2, and also in season 3 some. The longer this fight takes, the harder it gets, because then there's 2 guys out, but what this warrior doesn't seem to understand is it's very hard to separate them when there's 2. He starts basically blaming me for this, but in reality, all of our mistakes come from people getting fixated by these guys. The fixate is obviously not something you should die to, but it can be stopped by hooking them. The problem is when there's 2 out, if they both cast the hook at very similar times, it's impossible to separate them. They'll just stand still. This one's actually priceless. I made a whole video on this. I started just making real clips of these because these are just ridiculous. Like, this is the no flame please key, and honestly, it's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen happen organically in a key. You should definitely watch that if you want to see that on the channel, but in terms of the disband, obviously we're going to have to blame the warrior. The guy dies like 4 times and then just keeps releasing. We did the invis pod skip, so like he can't get back here. He doesn't realize that, you know, you have to invis. And then like the invis pod is up and he fails that too. So we try to summon, a bunch of hilarious stuff happens, and then everybody kind of gets on his case. Okay, we have an interesting one here actually. This guy's hunter pet actually aggroes the entire dungeons of trash. Now we just did the warlock skip that they actually kind of fixed or whatever. Nobody really does it anymore. But yeah, his pet actually runs all the way around instead of coming through the portal. I actually feel bad for the guy because everybody's like really mad at him. But he says something that is something that somebody could learn from, I think. He says, they went through last time I used the portal. No reason for them not to this time. Then Faxi in the chat actually points out that is because the first time he was probably mounted. You can actually click a warlock portal when you're mounted. And when you're mounted, your pets are just completely like nondescript. Like they can't pull anything. They can't do anything. They're just there. But if you're not mounted, they're physical pets and they're ready to aggro stuff. So they'll run all the way around. So in case anything like this ever happens again, wouldn't be surprised if we see more warlock skips in the future. Make sure you guys are mounted. Any type of skips, you no longer have to dismiss your pet. You just have to be on a mount if possible. Otherwise, you'd have to dismiss. So we're back in Plaguefall here, and this is another famous one. This guy clearly messes up. I mean, to me, I really don't see any way you can get out of saying this is a mess up by this guy's part. You're going to see the Balanced Druid is all the way back here when the Wave of Terror happens, and of course, we're fighting in the first room of Plaguefall, so guess what? He's going to get feared into trash. Not the end of the world. It's obviously something that we actually ended up doing later in the season. We'd pull a bunch of trash in with Varuth as well. It's very dangerous. You know, I don't really think that's the end of the world, but then, as you see, yet again, a Wave of Terror, and guess who's getting feared again? So double fear in 2 times, ends up dying over there, pulls even more trash. So I made this video, you know, I made this video saying like, yo, this is not really acceptable. Then he leaves. I mean, the big thing is that he leaves. I don't really even care about the mistakes. The big thing is that he leaves, but yeah, he leaves, and it's actually kind of embarrassing, right? Like, I mean, the fact that you get feared twice and then leave on the first pull, literally the first combat of a dungeon, is one thing. But so I made the video, right? Like, this is something I'd been doing all the way from BFA, even in Legion, I did it a few times, to right up now, right? Well, guess what? This guy threatens to sue me. He gets a hold of me in Discord, and he's like, I'm getting a lawyer and all this. I'm going to sue you. I'm like, dude, we don't even live in the same country. Like, you don't even live in the same country as me. Like, what are you talking about? And the guy just won't leave me alone. He was still messaging me like months after this happened. And it's like, whatever. I don't mind like the harassment out of the game, honestly, but it's like, just own your mistake, dude. I really don't understand. Like, it's literally just a video. I didn't even like make a video bashing the guy. I just published the actual run. This is a 1 minute and 30-second run. Just own your mistake and get better. That's all you need to do here. This is just what happened. It happened. You did this dumb thing, and that's it. Just own it. Yeah, okay. Or instead, you can just deny it so hard that you're threatening legal action against somebody. So it's interesting because this is the first one of another set of series of problems that we saw in season 2 as well here. This first boss has just really caused so many issues this expansion, but the big issue here is that DPS just have no idea what's actually occurring in the key, and they're not able to plan stuff out, or more so people with bloodlust. After doing this key a few times this season, you'd see this type of mess happen, but it's really not that big of an issue. The bigger issue is that we started pulling Arkalath or Varuth, whichever one was there, through the wall, and that would add probably about 2 or 3 minutes to the dungeon dungeon's front end, and then we would just lose a lust. So this is exactly what's going to happen here. On top of that, the mage doesn't even do it. Of course, the BM hunter is perfectly capable of doing it, but it needs to be way earlier than this at this point. And then we'd get to the second boss, and we wouldn't have lust until like the last 10 seconds of the fight. People would sometimes even use it there, and then we wouldn't have lust for the third boss either. Yeah, see here, it gets pretty heated. I said basically right before this, I like, you know, this is not acceptable. We failed to lust again on the boss. People are just not looking at when the timers are up, and I get pretty upset with these people. So if you watch my recent tier list ranking all dungeons, this is pretty much the reason that I hate theater, to be honest, because this dungeon is just a real pain. There's parts of this dungeon that just don't work very well, and parts of the dungeon that are just kind of annoying and frustrating, and this is one of them. This area we had a lot of trouble with, both mechanically and also with bugs in Season 2. Things really fall apart here because, you know, kind of trying to figure out the route. It's not really working out, but as we're running back from what a bug caused us to die, this monk is running back as well, and he runs up here. This guy clicks the platform and just goes on his own into the pack of 3 while we're talking about what's just gone wrong. Then he dies to the pack. The guy says, "Why did it take me here?" I said, "Because you clicked it." I mean, like, what other answer is there? I don't really understand. You could watch this whole footage. It's not great. I'm pretty toxic in it as well, but this guy dies like 5 times as spiteful as a monk and then clicks the portal and kills himself. So it's like, yeah, I'm over this tank too. 100% his fault. Yo, holy shit, look at this. Look at this. I'm really glad I reviewed the footage. Look who it is. It's Skytide. He's still playing Warlock in Season 2. Not related to him, though, this one, it seems. Shaman goes, "Stop dying." It's like, what the hell? We're just failing to kill the Arcalath here. Okay, this one's actually really interesting. I'm struggling to give my thoughts on this, honestly. So we're getting all of the Stoneborns here. Now, this is going to show something even cooler. But I guess the healer's all the way out there drinking. Like, he's all the way out here when I'm gathering the gargoyles, which, okay, like, let's be serious here. Again, I should definitely know about that, but, like, can you maybe position yourself in a better spot? Like, that's really, really far away. So I'm grabbing the gargoyles, and then we're going to boss. Seems pretty normal to me. Then we're going to do this really, really cool thing where at the time, the Tazavest trinket actually worked to aggro any mob in the game. So we're actually going to aggro yet another gargoyle, which I absolutely love this little trick. And I have to get that mob. Like, I have to be within, I think it's 100 yards of the mob for the trinket to actually hit it. But the guy gets feared. Like, this is him right here, right? He's standing here. The boss is engaged. He's got full mana now. He drank up. He gets both of the gargoyles. He's the Venthyr. And then I guess maybe it's just me simply moving the boss a little bit closer. I'm not really sure, but he moves like 4 feet. And then you see both the warlock and the priest are actually outside the ring at this point. The boss barely moves at all, but that has to happen because I can tell the boss is not close enough for me to get hit by him with the trinket up to get the third gargoyle. And then, oh, actually now I realize what happens. So then this guy gets feared and you see what happens. The warlock is also outside the ring, but he just moves in. You have like 2 seconds to do it, okay? But I slightly moved the boss up to get that ad. And in that time, somebody says no Venthyr. Now that was a while ago. That was before we pulled the boss. The monk was like, "We don't have a Venthyr. Stop gathering the gargoyles." But I'm like, no, we do have a Venthyr, dude. But then at that point, the priest seems to see the text from earlier about being a Venthyr. And just coincidentally, as I move the boss forward, the priest starts typing. So he's not paying attention, or he's, you know, not able to move his character because he's typing. So he actually stays outside the ring long enough to get feared. And that is ultimately a wipe there because of that, and ultimately a disband after that. Oh, yeah, okay. And so there's even a little bit more to this. So I basically asked, like, how did that happen? Like, I was trying to be serious about it. And the guy says, "You moved the circle in too much, dude. You can't do that when your healer has to drink and get the gargoyles." And so that was ultimately, I remember now why I published this in the first place, because this dude actually just straight up lies. Like, and the only reason that guy got feared was because he was typing. It's almost like he thinks he got feared before he got feared. Like, I don't fully get it, but this is the battle you have when pugging. Like, a very, very small error causes a complete catastrophe. Here's a good example of why pug keys are so hard though at times. And this is again something that was really problematic because of the seasonal effects. Like, we're really pressured to fight all of this stuff together. And we basically have 4 casters, including a mini boss as the 5th caster. And not a single one of these interrupts can really be missed. You know, we could stun and do stuff to the other mobs, but Incinerator Arcalath, he needs to be interrupted. And these guys kind of convinced me to do this. I never really liked doing this, but I had done it a previous time and it was actually hugely successful because we had like crazy DPS. Everything just died immediately. But this time we do something really dumb. I'm really panicking about all the other casts that are going off, and they assigned me to get the kick that's here. Now, I'm in my head thinking, okay, I have plenty of time to get that kick, so I'm actually going to kick one of the other mobs too. I know exactly like how long my interrupt is, but I just play it too close. Then a bit of a fight breaks out where people are just kind of like blaming each other for not kicking, but yeah, ultimately I mess up because I committed my interrupt to that, and then it ends up not being up when I need it. Here's another example of what we've been talking about a lot though, where DPS just feel like they want to be the tank instead of actual damage dealers. We're fighting Sogadon. This is maybe not how most people did it at the time, but this is just what I'm doing. I'm going over to pull this pack. This guy's going over to pull Arcalath, and nobody asked him to do that. I didn't ask him to do that. A lot of times we fight them together, but anyway, but the way I would prefer to do it is have the trash be dead and then fighting Arcalath, because there's actually RP after the trash. So it feels like, why would you fight Arcalath, then trash, then wait for RP when you can just fight Arcalath during that RP? But this guy decides to just take the key into his own hand and pull on his own for no reason, like actually no reason. And then he calls me dumb. It's like, man, again. Anyway, we almost survived that. It's really not that dangerous, but yeah, obviously people are going to get pretty tilted. So I said, is there a benefit to getting that before the trash? Because I'm talking about, getting it at some point anyway, but just before we pull this trash. The guy says, yeah, you get 210 stats. Thanks a lot, buddy. Thanks for the tip. This is the best thing about making the spreadsheet, though. This is actually quite nice. We see Holy Biz again. The dude's name is already on the spreadsheet. Wait, what the hell? We're actually also playing with Dominic. What is going on? This is the guy I made the other video about. Oh my god. So two like actual legends of the stream are in the same key. Wonder why this one doesn't go well. Here's another really interesting one that really could only ever happen in Season 2. And again, overthinking the route, I think. Plaguefall historically looked at as one of the easiest key timer-wise. We actually skipped the Frost guy, and I remember this. People were trying to get me to do it in the previous time we did Plaguefall, but we didn't do it. And you see, I actually just don't make it to the soak because I'm slowed, basically. The problem here is, though, anybody can soak that. It does not have to be the tank. Obviously, ideally, the tank does it. It's the one that's going to survive it the easiest. And because we chose to skip the Frost guy, yeah, that didn't work out. So it's just so wild because this boss has become like, I cannot believe how many wipes of this first boss we have. It's actually probably the hardest boss of the season. And this slime wave is just literally just claiming keys, man. It's actually wild. I really wish I can go back in time and tell myself about that line of sight spot, but they're getting hit by the avoidable mechanic as well. So I'm not even sure the line of sight spot would really help. Yo, what the hell actually is this? This is Blood Decay in a nutshell. Look at this. Oh, actually, no, I see the issue now. Watch this. Boom, dead. Literally, go boss, says the two players in the group that aren't tanks. Get one shot. The funny part is I didn't really know what happened either, and even rewatching it now, I also don't know. But you see I have 10 stacks of this debuff, which I believe is a massive health reduction. Yeah, you can see I only have 50k health right now. Now, the thing about going boss here is this debuff is always going to get me killed. But the thing is, there's actually a class in the comp here that can dispel me. I wonder if anybody can spot the player. You might notice them also because of the realm. But yeah, me getting one shot there after they pressure me into a boss. That's just Blood Decay things, by the way. Wait, then what's going on now? And then at the end of the key, after it's completely disbanded, the guy says, Boomy, you're fucking awful. Like, what does that have to do with anything? This one we actually made a whole video on. This is kind of funny, especially because we already ran with this guy, this sword art guy, and he did the same thing in another key. Heal me when I'm in CDs, man. Fuck, that's tilting. I made a whole video dissecting this, but it became a pretty big meme on the stream for a while. But this guy's like, I don't get how you let me die there with lust. And they start arguing about not decursing. And then the guy basically admits to trolling the key. The healer and him are arguing, and he said, you didn't decurse or lol or something like that. And he says, you know what's also lol? Your key. Like if he's actually just going to completely fuck the key. Really, at the end of the day, that's just a microcosm for why I hate playing with fire mages too, man. They always think their CDs are more important than just being a basically good human being to each other. Yo, holy shit, it's Skytide again. Dude, we actually play with this guy a ton in Season 2. How about this? This one's just kind of strange. We just cannot kill the last boss. I really wish more people would actually have taken Dagger of Necrotic Wounding because it was really, really, really valuable for this last boss. They have nerfed the boss's shield a bunch since that, but it made the shield like so small that the fight was just way, way easier, but nobody ever did that. But yeah. Hey again, Skytide. Yeah, here's the example of what we were talking about before as well. This is kind of funny. This is me trying to do too much here, I think, and ultimately disbands the key just because of that. So we got the healthiest boss here, and we're going to try to get the loyal Stoneborn. I see the trinket is up. It only has a few seconds left, so I kind of like panic. I'm like, oh shit, only 4 seconds left on it. It's not going to proc again for a while. And I turn the boss hardcore and spin onto 2 players, which ultimately gets them killed. Now, to be fair, we recover from that. It's a huge mistake on my part, but we do actually recover from that. And then the hunter just dies to the beam, like completely unassisted. That's definitely not my fault that time. And so ultimately, this is the key that kind of drives me away from Horde. You've seen some bad ones. I think if you watch the season 1 video, you'll probably see some funny and maybe even charming stuff. But in season 2, man, it's honestly just a lot more depressing. It's a lot more really bad play and a lot more really hostile people and a lot more people who are just not interested in actually trying. They're just kind of here for what looks to be like a quick upgrade. And if it doesn't go their way, then they're just going to quit. So we actually have this healer die twice to Arcalath. I made a video. I've talked about this 1,000 times now on the channel. This is like a chain of disbands over and over again where we actually I just lost all interest in playing the game at this point. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. You actually can't see it, but the guy gets hit by the scorching blast, so he dies to that first. Then he onks, he comes up, and he's still standing in the previous scorching blast, so he gets really, really low there again. But he recovers, even though it's Grievous Week. This is gonna be super dangerous for him. And as you see, he gets clipped by it yet again. This time it was unfortunate because this player was in front of him and he tried to run through it. There was probably no option for him because if he wanted to run backwards, he would have ran into the other puddle, and running to the right probably would have aggroed trash. So that one's just kind of unfortunate. And then he just runs back and just seems to die to just damage again. Another scorching blast going out. But this guy here, I'm Demon Hada, ends up just leaving, another Azraelon player. And, you know, to me, this exemplifies everything that's wrong with keys. We are literally not even 3 minutes into the key when this happens. This is Necrotic Wake. It's the easiest key that's ever existed for any Mythic Plus, if you ask me. Obviously, this one mob that we're fighting is not going well, but it's a mini boss. Like, I mean, people die to these all the time. Yeah, I don't really get it, man. It's very depressing to me, and I guess it's just not going to change. So I basically went Alliance simply because of this type of thing. It was a chain of it, literally week after week after week, we'd have stuff like this. So that's life, I guess. We're over it now, but yeah, it's definitely very upsetting at the time. All right, well, that's everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed. That season was quite trying. Like I said, a lot going on IRL. So I was just in a really bad mental state for probably a good half of it, but certainly had more success than season 1. Season 2 led on to season 3. And I really, really, really am having fun with the game again, with Blood DK especially. Hopefully it'll stay that way in season 4. I cannot wait to try it out. Looking forward to season 1 of Dragonflight as well. But, you know, last time we made one of those videos, we ended it with singing. So I guess we probably should make that a ritual now, huh? This Disturb song kind of got brought up on stream randomly. I don't really know where it even came from. Kind of just like organically happened. So living just isn't hard enough. Burn me alive inside. Living my life's not hard enough. Take everything away. Pretty fitting song for pugging, wouldn't you say? Hopefully next season, season 4, we're going to get back to doing this. Probably make another video with all the disbands again at that point. So thank you for watching. We will see you guys in the next one. And thank you again for Grawl, aka Yummy TV, for bringing attention to this again. He's really done such a big thing. I really hope that this can help people learn. But even if people just laugh at it and have some, some chuckles at the content, well, that's fine by me too. Thank you for watching. We will see you guys in the next video.